Now, also joining us in the studio, Andy Berry, the Executive Vice President of the Mississippi Cattlemen's Association and the Mississippi Beef Council. Morning, Andy. Thanks for coming in today.
Good morning. Appreciate the invitation.
Well, of course, we are just a couple of days removed from this cyber attack on the JBS operation, and they're one of the top meat producers, right, in the world.
The largest meat producer in the world.
Number one.
Second largest in the United States. Account for about 1/5 of the beef production here in the United States.
That is incredible. So what's the status now, Andy? They had reported it at least right after the breach that they had investigated and expected to restore operations to normal levels as of yesterday. Where do they stand now?
So as of this morning, I believe that all but 2 plants are back functioning in some capacity. I think there's one in Colorado and another one out maybe in Utah that are not functioning at some capacity, but the rest of them are up and running down in the Panhandle. They're back in full capacity. Some of the ones up in like Wisconsin area are on a limited capacity, but we're seeing them back up and running. Expect by the end of the week that they'll all be back at full capacity, and then expect a really hard effort Saturday to kind of make up for some of that lost time.
Now, breaches and cyber attacks are occurring continuously. Round the clock was in that industry, as you know, and so we're familiar with that. But with respect to a large meat processor like this, a beef processor, is this the first that you're aware of that has been, I guess, this significant? It's quite probable that all of them have experienced some sort of attempt, at least, to breach their IT systems, but none that I'm aware of that have actually shut down production. Is this the first?
So in terms of ransomware, yes, it's the first attack that I'm aware of. We've had a Black Swan event in 2019 that drastically affected cattle prices as well as beef prices, and then another one last year with the pandemic. And so this is, it had the potential to be the third Black Swan in as many years for our industry, but thankfully so far it's not as bad. Beef is still available. If this has been a protracted thing, another week, we would have really maybe saw some shortages show up. But right now, there's plenty of beef available, and we expect supplies to hold steady.
Okay. Well, I also recall, was it Tyson's, I think, had an interruption back during the pandemic because of an outbreak in either one or multiple of the plants, and there was pretty dire predictions about how that would impact. That didn't quite seem to materialize the way it was once thought.
Well, you saw back in April and May of last year, beef prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
There was a concern about availability. And that was a logistics problem.
Yeah.
We had plenty of beef frozen. We had beef out there, but getting it to the grocers was an issue. But coupled with some legitimate concerns of folks not being able to work in those plants because it's a close quarter, close contact thing, and there were some outbreaks in those plants that they were able to work through in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And speaking of which, how's the labor situation looking across the industry?
It's tough. It's just like any other industry that you see in terms of the packing capacity. Now, as farmers out here taking care of the cattle, beef kind of starts here in the pastures of Mississippi. We raise cow-calves, and then we ship them out west to be fed and turned into high-quality beef. But here, our cattle farmers are working. It's a hard, tough time right now. But in the harvest facilities, we're seeing labor shortages. They're getting paid not to show to work. Unions are causing the chain speed to slow down, meaning not as many cattle are able to be harvested during the day, and then just getting folks to show up in general. They're having to kind of not work as hard on Saturdays to make up some of this capacity. So you're seeing a significant reduction in beef processing on a weekly basis at a time when demand is through the roof for that product.
Yeah.
And so we've got a bottleneck. We've got a problem with beef packing capacity and the utilization of that here in America.
What about transportation? Because, Andy, I've seen lots of reports about just a shortage of truck drivers, big-time problem, and that is expected also to play into the price of fuel because of transportation of fuel once it's refined and distributed out to the consumers at the gas stations and convenience stores and the like. But that everybody's got to have some way to transport those products.
So, truckers are the unsung hero of any industry in America.
Sure.
That, we may have a negative view of them when we're traveling down the road, but they're the ones that get the products to us.
Sure.
In terms of truck drivers in our industry, we face a shortage of live drivers, people that were able to transport live cattle. We've got government restrictions on them in terms of the hours of service that they can actually drive. So we've got live animals on the back of our trailers. We don't have 2x4s or paper products or plastics that we can just pull over. We got to get to where we're going, and getting those guys that do that is tough to find them. And then also getting just regular truckers to haul the meat product back to the distributors, grocery store. There's a shortage out there, no doubt.
So, bottom line is, if you're looking for work, sounds like there's plenty of opportunities.
Absolutely. If you want to get up and go, there's somewhere I guarantee we can put you to work.
What are you hearing from your members with respect to just their overall outlook? How are they feeling about the industry? Because, as you indicated, the demand is there. Yep. It appears to be, and I think people have kind of sat on a lot of their money because they couldn't go out and spend it. Now they're wanting to get back out. They're tired of being locked up and restricted, and they've got some disposable income. This is good news, I think, for the restaurant industry, which of course are customers of these folks, and just people wanting to maybe splurge a little bit even on their meals at home.
So I would say our members, by and large, our cattle producers in Mississippi and across the country, are extremely frustrated by the current conditions in our industry. We see record prices of beef. The packing companies that we talked about earlier, they're making record profits. That does not always translate, just like we've seen in the timber industry. That doesn't translate down to the farmer getting that money back. We're price takers, and when we have a product that's ready to go, when that animal gets ready to be harvested, it's ready. You can't hold it another month or 6 months. They're ready. Yeah. It's like a field of timber or corn or soybeans. You can't keep them holed up. You've got to sell them. And so we're just not realizing the profit that is our product is valued at the end of the production cycle. Getting that profit back down to the cow-calf producers here in Mississippi is a big issue, and it all stems back to there's just a bottleneck of packing capacity. There's 4 major companies that have the majority of that wrapped up, and they can pretty well set the prices where they're at. There's a Department of Justice investigation going on, stemming back from the beef packer margins last year during the pandemic. We're waiting to hear the results of that. It's almost a year old. We don't have any update, anything that's let us know where that investigation is staying. We're working with our delegation in D.C. to try to get some updates on that. But it's a very frustrating time, coupled with, in our industry, every single input that we have is either hard to get or the price has gone up. Fertilizer, diesel, tractor parts are just hard to get out there. I was talking to somebody the other day. They'd ordered a part, so they hoped to get it in October. This was in April.
Good grief.
And so you've got a tractor sitting there that they can't use from April to hopefully October.
Gee whiz. So the administration and its policies, have they proven to be friendly to your industry at this point, or is your industry sort of pushing back on those?
There's a lot of things that concern us with the current administration. There's a big change, no doubt, from where we were in the past. So far, the messaging from Washington they've at least been willing to listen to our point of view, take it under advisement. There's some big issues out there that we've got to be on the lookout for. America the Beautiful, it's a repackaged Green New Deal, some of the transportation issues, just some of the other regulations that are out there that have potential to affect us greatly. Yeah.
And so are you working with the delegation from our state?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
Which, of course, our state being one that heavily relies on the agricultural business, they're always advocating for us in Washington.
Yeah, all of our delegation, both in the House and Senate, are very receptive to our needs and certainly understanding of the problems that we face. And, I was on the phone a good bit with Michael Guest's office yesterday about an issue with that, and they're certainly, willing to help in any way.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, appreciate you coming on and
Appreciate
giving us
you.
an update on all this, and we wish them well, and we thank all those that are busting their chops to keep us fed.
Well, just enjoy a delicious beef meal early and often every day.
You got it. Appreciate it. Andy Berry, the Executive Vice President of the Mississippi Cattlemen's Association and the Mississippi Beef Council, has been our guest. We'll be right back here on the JT Show. We got more to talk